Welcome to the session on evolution. Here we'll be dealing on evolution of vertebrate groups. And this figure, it shows the evolution of major groups of living vertebrate groups. You can see the most primitive of them, it is the jawless fishes or the Agnatha. And among the Agnatha, the living representatives include the lampreys and hagfishes. And their ancestor dates back to about 550 million years ago. And from them, you can see the cartilaginous fishes among the jawed fishes or the what you call gnathostomes. The cartilaginous fishes were the ones which evolved first uh, earlier at about 450 million years ago. And then came up ray fin fishes and lobe fin fishes um, about almost um, more than 400 million years ago. And it is from these lobe-fin fishes or the crossoterigians, we can say the tetrapods arose. And it was almost like around like 300 to 350 years, a million years before. Okay, so this is just a figurative representation of the evolution of major vertebrate groups. Now we can see in detail here, it is a evolution of agnatans, and the first fish lineages, we can say it belongs to Ignatha. And the early examples include Hycoictus, and it is during the last Cambrian period, um, eel-like jawless fish called conodons appeared. And among them, mostly armored fish known as ostracoderms were present. They were the ones to appear first. You can see the ostracodermy, right? And most jawless fishes became extinct later, but the only extant forms include we can say these forms. Okay, uh, here you can see the the width of these like branching lines. It represents the abundance, and you can see as it moves towards the recent time, it is decreasing, isn't it? That means what happened is it has become least abundant. So here during the early period or the recent time, this ostracoderms were abundant, and it had evolved into the anaspida and osteostrachy, and all these like Pteraspis, Trypanaspis, Hemicyclaspis, all those got extinct. We have only the fossil forms because of the armored nature, armored fishes. That is what they are not commonly called. And because of these armored nature, the fossils representatives are there. Fossils are remaining, uh, and that is why we have a very slightly better record of all the evolutionary pathway taken up by the Agnatans. Okay, and what we have presently, it is a cyclostomata. Okay, so this is a group which is actually present today. Cyclostomes. We have the Myxin petromyzin species. Okay, so this is the evolution of Agnatans, and we have already mentioned it started with the ostracoderms, once abundant during the late Cambrian period. Okay, now if we see the jawed vertebrates. Okay, so here you can see. Fine. So this two figures, it shows the evolution of all the major groups of vertebrates, and we can see over here the evolution of Agnatha. Right, it started towards the late Ordovician period. Okay, and the most abundant group at that time were Ostracodermi, and then it continued to evolve, but you can see it is very meager in the sense the representation of agnathans were very less, like towards the Carboniferous, and from Carboniferous to the recent, we can see the only major group which remained was the cyclostomes. Okay, and presently the only extant living agnathans are the cyclostomata. Okay, now from here you can see from the almost towards the Silurian period, Placodermi emerged, and a side shoot, you can see the offshoot of Placodermi. It gave rise to like actinoterigi, crossoterigians, and the crossoterigians were the what you call ancestor to the amphibians. Okay, I hope it is clear. So it was crossoterigians, specifically the Rhipidistia of the crossoterigians, where this is the ancestral stock for the amphibians. amphibians. Okay, Lepidostia is the was the ancestral stock for the amphibians. Okay, and then we have is the uh, what do you call uh, the Lepospondyli. From there arose the three major living forms of the amphibians: Urodila, Apoda, and Anura. Okay. So when we speak about the amphibians, they evolved during the you can see here. Okay, so we may have to look into the fishes. Isn't it? So the most primitive, what you call gnathostomes, that is one with jaws, that is the jawed fishes, and it includes the what you call placoderms. Okay, you can see here the placoderm is the this is the first gnathostome. Earliest primitive gnathostome include the placoderms, which lived during the Silurian and the Devonian period. Okay, and it is assumed that ancestors of bony fishes. You can see here these are the set of bony fishes, right? And a set of bony fishes, actually the ancestors to them, passed through placoderm stage during evolution, but such ancestors were not observed in fossil records. Okay. Evidences suggest that bony fishes cannot be evolved from placoderms directly because bony fishes began to appear at the beginning of Devonian period. You can see over here, Actinopterygii and all, even this one, almost at the beginning of the Devonian period itself, the bony fishes were there. So we cannot say that the bony fishes evolved from placodermy just because of this evidence. Okay, so placodermy they were abandoned during the late Silurian, completely during the Devonian period, and towards the early Carboniferous period. Okay, uh, almost at the same time, at the beginning of the Devonian period itself, the bony fishes were present on the earth. So obviously, we cannot say that these bony fishes it started off from the placoderms. Okay, we don't have any proper evidence with regard to that. On the other hand, chondrichthyes or the cartilaginous fishes might have evolved from placoderms, but again, in placoderms, operculum was present, uh, but spiracles were absent. Okay, so again, in cartilaginous fishes, operculum is absent and spiracles are present. So it is just the opposite. So what happens is again the with respect to the morphological characters, as far as we know, obviously cartilaginous fishes and placoderms are slightly different. So again, this connection cannot be like cartilaginous fishes evolved from placoderms. We are not so sure. Similarly, osteichthyes, because of this particular group, evolved almost parallel to placoderms. We cannot say that it arose from evolved from placodermy. Okay, so it might be of this condition. That is, it may have been an offshoot evolution from the ancestral stock that gave rise to placodermy. That is what we have, we can be concluding. Okay. Um, Now, with regard to the amphibians, we can say uh, here it starts with over here, isn't it? Um, Lepospondyli, and it evolved almost during the middle of the Devonian period, almost like you can see here, 416 to 359 million years ago, and it is from the Crossoterigi. Okay, and fossils found in Canada in 2006 uh, is considered to be of Sarcoteregian Tiktaalik. Okay, you may find the details on the net. It is Tiktaalik. Even the name itself is like very interesting, isn't it? It is Tiktaalik, and you can say this fossil record was obtained from Canada in 2006, and it seems to be representing an intermediate stage between the Sarcoteregia and the amphibians. Uh, because it do have some certain very specific characters like they have the uh, lobes, but the lobes do have uh, just like Sarcoteregia lobe fishes, right? They do have lobes, but they had like claw-like structures at the end, somewhat like that. Then they had lungs as well as gills, right? And they had so such very important characters of both fishes as well as amphibians could be seen in Tiktaalik. Okay, you will find the like notes and the videos on Tiktaalik. I've shared it in the group. Species of the genus Ichthyostica, a member of Labyrinthodontae, you can see are considered to be the earliest amphibians. Tiktaalik is considered to be intermediate between fishes and amphibia. Okay, so it will be considered as a connecting link because it shows characters of both fishes as well as amphibians. Fishes in the sense specifically the what I call lobe-finned fishes, okay, Sacoteregia. Now, Ichthyostica, it is considered to be the earliest amphibians. Again, it is also considered as an some scientists they consider Ichthyostica as intermediate between fish and amphibians. But we can see that the characteristic, when we study the characters of Ichthyostica, it is more closer to the true amphibians. Okay, so it may have evolved later to Tiktaalik. Ichthyostica were carnivorous freshwater organisms with fish-like tail and strong limbs that had primitive digits, and it lived almost during 365 million years ago. So that is with respect to the evolution of amphibians. Okay. Then regarding reptiles, you can see there is an offshoot almost during the Carboniferous period from Labyrinthodontia, isn't it? And here you can see it continues over here, and it is the major reptile apes group. Okay, it is seen that reptiles are evolved from ichthyostegid labyrinthodont amphibians. Okay, they are considered to be the ancestors of reptiles, and most primitive reptiles, it is the Cotylosaura. You can see there are different groups like Chelonia, Cotylosaura, Euryapsida, then Eusuchia, Rhynchocephalia, Ornithischia, etc. Okay, but you can see the most primitive one is a Cotylosaura, which was there during the uh, Carboniferous period. Okay, so the most primitive reptiles are Cotylosaurians, and Cotylosaurians, it is considered to be the stem reptiles from which diverse groups of reptiles evolved, and Symerimorpha is the connecting link between the amphibians and reptiles. Okay, um, from the Symerimorpha, we can see they show characters of both amphibians as well as reptiles at the same time. And from Cotylosauria, reptilians evolved, and this evolution occurred in different lines, leading to diverse groups of reptiles. You can see Cotylosauria from here. You can see the Euryapsida arose. At the same time, Diapsida arose, which gave rise to the Squamata and then Rhynchocephalia. And you can see the even some other groups are there, isn't it? But all the at the same time, almost at the same time. Okay, so Archosauromorpha and Lepidosauromorpha gave rise to crocodiles, and Lepidosauromorpha from them arose the uh, lizards and snakes. Synapsida includes pelycosaurs, and evolved from pelycosaurs are the mammal-like reptiles. Okay, you can see over here. It is a synapsid groups, Pelycosauria. From there, the therapsids or mammal-like reptiles arose. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, so Cotylosauria gave rise to synapsid, Pelycosaurus. From there to the therapsids evolved, and it is the Pelycosaur therapsids which gave rise to the complete mammals. You can see the complete mammals arose from the therapsid Pelycosauria. Okay, so that is with respect to the reptile. Now, when we speak about birds, you can see this is the stock. Okay, birds evolved from Archosauria. Uh, uh, the reptiles, it is ancestral group is Pseudosaucia. Okay, and birds are considered to be glorified reptiles. Pseudosaucia gave rise to dinosaurs, pterosaurs, crocodiles, and birds. You can see here, the Ornithischia is there, Pterosauria is there, and then Crocodilia, Saurischia, and apes. All these started from over here. Okay, so it is the Pseudosaucia. Uh, then this is Eusuchia, and this is the Pseudosaucia over here. Okay, Archaeopteryx suggests the birds evolved from bipedal arboreal reptiles. Birds followed two lines of evolution: evolution of flying birds and those of flightless birds. Flying birds were the ones first evolved, and the flightless birds, the origin is not definitely known, and may have descended from flying birds along different lines and do not form a natural bone. Okay, so this is with respect